I'm John Hanna for CDTV.net in New York, and we have Felipe Corzani. Uh, we're calling him from Tallahassee, Florida, at the Florida State University. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, what do you do for the university?
I am a professor of integrated marketing communication, and I am the director and the founder of the Center for Hispanic Marketing Communication.
Excellent, excellent. Just definitely right in line with our topic here, which is pretty much your book. Tell us about your book.
Sure. Well, uh, there are very few books that look at the Hispanic market, not so much as demographic or as a series of statistics about how big the market is or how important it is or how much money it has, but what are the cultural characteristics that make the Hispanic market or Latino market unique and targetable, but not necessarily from the point of view of just the Spanish language media anymore, but from the point of view of culture itself. As the media has is now much more diversified, and as Hispanics are becoming a lot more acculturated to the overall environment of the United States, they don't rely exclusively on Hispanic media as some of the new immigrants used to. And so now connecting with the Latino consumer has to be more on the basis of understanding their culture and having points of connection that will make the message resonate better with them.
In the past couple of years, there's been a merging and acquisition of Latino media markets, media companies, primarily the Telemundo.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Is that does corporate America recognize now that the need to actually market to that market now?
Well, I think that most of the large consumer product packaged goods have known that marketing to Hispanics can be very profitable. And Procter and Gamble, for example, also Kraft, and Coca-Cola, for example, and other companies have been pursuing this market for many years. What happens is that usually every 10 years, when the census figures wake up marketers just by showing that this denomination of consumer has become even larger than expected, then all the other marketers start getting very excited about it. And so it's a little bit of a cyclical kind of search of interest that shouldn't be, because to establish a long-standing relationship with any consumer, you have to have a continuous presence. But anyway, that is what usually happens. There are some companies that have been very committed to not only to sell products to Hispanics, but also to do things for their communities and to engage with them, and others who have been very slow in doing anything. So it's a mixed bag, but I think it's in an upward trend as opposed to the downward trend.
Okay, now with regards to packaging and the actual advertising itself, is there any difference?
Well, what happens is this, that advertising and marketing to Latinos or Hispanics in this country is not anymore about putting the message in Spanish alone. It is more about understanding some cultural nuggets that will help the marketer establish a link of understanding with the consumer. And so definitely using some Spanish language and mixing some Spanish language in your message and packaging usually signals to the consumer that you really want their business. And that is a good thing to do. But that is different from the consumer relying absolutely and completely on the Spanish language for understanding a message. So it's more, for many of the Hispanics in this country now, is more of an emotional issue than it is a pragmatic understanding issue. Still, there are about 30% of the market that rely almost exclusively on the Spanish language, but the other 70% are able to communicate relatively effectively in English. There are other examples of brands doing very many interesting connections. One of the interesting sort of classic case study is when Folgers used to be a Procter & Gamble company. They are not anymore. They were trying to figure out how to make Folgers a powerful brand among U.S. Hispanics. And they were realizing that the overall campaign that they had in the general market did not really appeal very well to Hispanics. And so they started asking consumers around the country a very simple question, which had to do with something that they already had owned for a long time. Folgers had owned the morning. The morning was a big moment for Folgers consumption, right?
Right.
And so they asked a lot of Hispanics around the country, different backgrounds, etc., what does the morning mean to you? And after asking that across many different markets and going deep as deep as they could, all the consumers at the very end came up with the same answer, exactly the same answer. Say, okay, listen, if you really want to know what the morning means to me, I'll tell you. It means being very happy for being alive. Says, what does it mean? Say, well, yeah, see, in our culture, our mothers teach us to pray at night so that we don't die during our sleep, so that God doesn't take us away at night. And so that in the morning when we wake up and we open our eyes, we thank God for being alive and we celebrate. Well, that was very different from what other consumers in other markets had said. So these people understood that this was a very deep value and deep emotion, and they associated Folgers with glorious mornings, celebrating the morning with Folgers. And Folgers became number one, and it became a very powerful campaign because that had a cultural insight that other people didn't have. Right. And of course, that insight then migrated and evolved, and many things changed along with it. But there are, a lot of examples of that nature and the principle is, again, not the do's and don'ts, but more about discovering ideas that will enable you to connect with the culture. And one of the key tenets of the book is that all marketing is cultural, but very few marketers know that, because most marketers are not educated in anthropology, and they do not see that a lot of what they are doing is really getting a hold of a cultural idea and using it to characterize their brand. Like Nike with the Just Do It, and for everything else there is, etc., and the Serial of Champions, and all these positionings have a very strong cultural element embedded in them, but it has been sort of like not understood as a cultural element, and that's exactly what a culture comprised of so many subcultures like ours is right now. You need to understand a lot more than just trying to get one idea that is powerful with everybody, but more trying to see if there are general principles that resonate, but also how can you do a better job in positioning your own product in a particular niche, in a particular area. Some of these niches can be make or break for many brands.
Now, where can people reach you if they wanted to talk to you some more?
Sure. Well, they can always go to the Florida State University's website and type Hispanic, and we will come out immediately. But If otherwise on Google, just type Corzeni, my last name, or Hispanic marketing research or Hispanic marketing, and they'll find me. But other than that, I'll give you my number, which is 850-583-0378, and my email, which is fcorzeni@gmail.com. Is my first initial for Felipe, my last name Korz as in zebra ENNY @gmail.com. And if I can be of assistance to anybody, I'll be happy to do that.
There you go, folks. That's Felipe Corzeni joining us from the Florida State University this afternoon, and I'm John Hanna for CityTV.net in New York.